Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst Desk on Stream A. I'm Elstamatic. With me is Jess the GOAT, and we are here to talk about our upcoming matches, ones that are still left in day 2 of the 6 Sweden major. A lot to dig in. Some would say not as much as you would have expected from one of our 2 teams here. Vitality versus DarkZero is up next. Jess, how are you feeling now that Fresh is on his way back to the hotel?
You know what? It's almost like I feel refreshed now that he's gone. Every time I'm out of his presence, I'm like, oh, what zen? You know what I mean?
Genuinely.
Wow.
Understandable.
I actually love him. I feel like we need to put disclaimers underneath these.
We just trash talk one another because I call her Jess because we're buddy like that.
I call him Gassan because like we're close like that. Like we're like, wow, I know him on like a first name basis. Don't ever do that again. We seem like the
Barry
awkward
says
boomers.
Famalam.
Famalam?
Yeah, are you older than Jack?
I believe
Jack's
I am.
fresh. I just call him Jack because
we're tight like that. I believe I am. Look, we're the Boomer Desk for now. We're going to do the late night show here.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening.
Let's talk about our teams. First up, Vitality, the current
of boomers.
French champions. Yeah, they got a mix of boomers and zoomers at the same time on this team. Shinka, Bibu, Cactus, P4, and Rise. Honestly, Jess, I'm very happy to see the performance so far in the major.
You know what? After the second game, I got worried. I was like, oh my God, was that first game a flash in the pan where things just, you know, becoming a roller coaster ride yet again for Team Vitality? The answer is statistically no. Things are looking pretty hot for them. They have come in after that second game, refreshed the mental. I spoke to Luluin last night on that Twitter space I did, and I said, tell the world what it is that you're expecting for the upcoming games. And she proudly said, we're just happy to be here. But we have 2 things going for us. One, we have ambitions and we have goals, and she thinks that they're separate. And I very much agree with that ideal. And I think her theories behind how the team should operate both long-term and short-term are very, very key to the success of the team. They have some of the best support staff in the world behind them right now. Both Helby as the strategic, assistant coach, and Luluin, you could not get better support staff behind them. So I really, truly believe in this roster.
And Rob's, of course, that has to run around and babysit everybody
essentially
on the team. Rob's Zelyun are veterans of the entire French scene, and you add Helby on top of it. This is what you're looking for. But also veterans of North America or DarkZero. But looks like...
How do you say it nicely, Milosh? Say it nicely.
Let's just say DarkZero are living up to their name of DarkZero. Because...
I said say it nicely. You really went through.
Because people have to understand what it's about, and I don't know how things get across in that way. Emizu, NJR, Hyper, Canadian, and Eclipse with an interrogation mark at the end. Is it actually Eclipse? I'm not sure.
We don't know.
Nobody knows. At this point, do we really know, given this situation? But the squad has to mentally reset. And I was talking to Fresh about this earlier when it was, Vitality up on the chopping block.
Yep.
How do you prep yourself? Like, honestly, you just have to take it game by game. There's no other way. You have 6 matches in the groups, and that's it. But they rematch their opponents to smash them.
I think the best thing for us now is to know, 1, what the battleground will be, because that's going to be my key area of analysis for this desk. Now that I don't have Fresh here and I don't have to host, I have my main man Milosh as the host, I can do the nitty-gritty.
I know nothing about Rainbow Six, so Chalet,
please.
What is this map?
This is great. I'm going to...
Honestly, are you okay?
It is the cold air getting me. I was getting excited, or attempting to, through, my pubescent phase just then, to say that this is a great map for Vitality. Are we shilling them right now? Hell yeah, we are. And we should be, because they're an exciting French roster that has been able to slip their way into the major, and they've proved that it wasn't an accident to be here. Chalet will be the stomping ground for them, and as the snow falls outside, I think the snow will fall in favor of Vitality here, because this is one of their best maps out of their entire map pool, one they favor heavily since about June. You
say that, however, it has stopped snowing, turned to slush, and melted away.
Well, that's kind of like DarkZero on the other side.
Woo!
Sheesh! She went there.
Hey, you were the one saying, oh, cool, let's just...
I mean, you went there. I just was like, I'm going to get on your level.
Follow up. Fair enough, fair enough. Well, looks like our game is ready. Everybody's really heating up for this. Vitality versus DarkZero. So let's get ready to rumble, ladies and gentlemen. It's Chalet, and it's got to be in snowy Alps. Enjoy.
Welcome back to the Sweden Major. We are shortly going to get underway with the match. Vitality versus DarkZero. It was one of the first ones we have had, of course, during the Major itself. Back then, Vitality came in with the win. A 7-2 or 7-1, I believe it was. DarkZero, well, they quickly had to grab themselves together, discuss what was going on, and as Vitality is hyping themselves up, let's get into the map.
Let's do it. Let's go to a showdown where, oh, I really want to see a game. Okay. So what we're going to look towards right now is how the fates of these two teams have gone. Vitality, in the books of a lot of people who have been watching a lot of games, have said not many teams have as much fire and fight as this French roster. And, well, DarkZero, they were a team that haven't really had much fire and fight, or if they've tried to raid on the game, hello, Rise, it's something that hasn't quite connected with the game itself. It's a reset moment. This is the rematch, this is the bring back, and this is, can they try and build something from what has been not a good day at the office for DarkZero?
It's definitely not been the best day indeed for DarkZero. Well, not a great stage, not really group so far for them. Need to desperately go and get some points now as Vitality, well, they are looking, of course, to break back into a top 2 position. And from there on, hopefully move on to, for them, the playoffs. That would be, of course, the goal, the opportunity for them. Not quite sure what their probabilities are for the 6th Invitational. I'm quickly pulling up the spreadsheet infographic thingy that was made about it. As of course there has been quite some. And we are scrolling through. Vitality, for them to make it, they need to make it out of groups with a 98% certainty they would be making it to the 6th Invitational. If they do not, that is a 12% opportunity if they at least get 3rd in the group. So, you know,
Maths.
one is better than the other.
Numbers.
So get out of groups, Vitality. That's what you want to be doing here. Otherwise, you're not going to be finding yourselves during the 6th Invitational. In this game, that might be the very first start of it to qualify yourselves for SI.
Okie dokie, let's get into the showdown here on Chalet. We've seen a lot of Chalet today. We've had a full sort of stretch of it. If yesterday was the day at the bank to withdraw all the money, today is the day to spend it with your feet up in a lovely, scenic, snowy wonderland. Or maybe all of the players were just inspired by the snowy wonderland we found ourselves in today. Very cold in Sweden. We had snow for a large portion of the day, which was lovely for the walks between where we're casting, where the players are, and how everything's come together. It's made things feel a little bit magical.
It has definitely made it feel magical indeed, especially some of the runs that have gone through. Damwon Kia, for example, who are on the brink of qualifying themselves as well. Rogue, one of the other teams that has actually managed to qualify so far. I'm not quite sure if we will see one of them to qualify now. Either way, we'll get on that throughout this matchup. First of all, Chalet is the game, is the map we have on our hands. And let's see if Vitality is going to be able to, yet again, defeat DarkZero. If DarkZero have learned from their mistakes.
It's, I guess, the biggest, boldest thing to say is have DarkZero learned from the mistakes. And this is conversations that obviously we've had as talent in the back room, that you guys have almost definitely had at home, and they've had as well, is how can they try and make things connect here? Because, okay, in the words of Canadian, of DarkZero, they just wanted to do better than they did before. They want to build, they didn't expect anything major because it's major changes the roster has had coming into this, but this is very likely worse than they expected, and Canadian getting kills, in the words of Parker, is good. Canadian being the top killer for 2 games is the opposite of good.
Yes, that's basically it, right? And I know I haven't been playing at the same level as any of these players, or Espangi, for example, who's also on our talent roster now, but when I would be top fragging back in the Benelux days, we would be losing the game, and then that happened every now and then. So I know that feeling. You don't really want to, because it means that the actual star players at that moment aren't showing up as much as they should. And if a team really relies on that, when you have 2 top-heavy players, for example, that do not show up, well, that is suddenly when it becomes problematic. DarkZero are on the attack. A minute has passed and Canadian has, well, basically traversed through 2 different floors. Still some work to do though. They need to start opening up the wall. First of all, towards the side, but they also need to work on that top floor control, neither of which has been done yet. Eclipse is in a position, though, however, to make sure that they could be potentially going for a breach soon.
Now the E1D pops out, roars across the sky, and that bounce echoes and reverberates more than around and anyone that anything could have possibly come together. They're looking to see if they can find a bit of a short, sharp angle here to get a bit of aggression onto the hold itself, but still, Cactus is this backline. That Alder goes burr. In his hands, more than a lot of other people's hands, they're always trying to find just something that they can connect with the end of those big bullets. And, well, is a DarkZero lineup on a map that they are quite good at gonna be the break?
That's going to be the question. The wall at least does get opened up, and that gives them a opportunity, a possibility, a passage into the dining hall. They need to use that, however, and there is still going to be players above that could be potentially providing some trouble, as Cactus here with the Evil Eye as well will be making sure that these zaps were coming in before Hyper had the Gun 6. Quickly get rid of it.
Another E1D, and the Yin Candelas go over the top, and they're going to see if they can make their way down towards the dining room. Dash dropped towards the diffuser, but it's P4 on the cover, gets that creepy up the corner. Eclipse is covered by DZ. It's Canadian that throws it to the stars, and they have it locked off. Suddenly, it's a 4 versus 3. All the watch came down. They couldn't quite get the control above. 1 more falls, and it's a trade-off to leave just Shinka alone with 3 more players left to try and find. The clear, the clarity, and the direction onto the site was perfection there from DarkZero. They knew where they wanted to be, they knew who needs to be where, and they made sure that the lockdown was across the board. The first falls, but with 2 more in 20 seconds, they've got to go for a hop down, and the pings come through. The red makes them concerned. It is just the fight and the scratch towards it, but it's Hyper that locks it off.
Yeah, they do lock it off. That's DarkZero to take the lead here in this matchup. The return or rerun up against Vitality. Vitality currently find themselves in that 2nd place. Want to stay there. That's what I want to achieve. They need to get out of groups if they want to have a shot at the 6th Invitational and not having to go through the last chance qualifiers, because this is the last opportunity to qualify throughout the point system.
Okay, DZ. We're seeing a little bit of that sharpness we wanted to see. I liked the attack. I like how you brought yourself into the firefight. Okay, let's put a little asterisk there and say some of the Vitality plays we've seen have been stronger on their attacks in terms of putting the pace. It's Chalet, a great attacking map, but this is the start of something for DarkZero. This is the only moment they get a start for something. In the words of Joystick from Empire earlier today, before their game, they said, Russians will only show up when elimination is on the line. Maybe Americans and a Canadian are the same.
Possibly, actually. Maybe they are still going to be able to carry themselves out of it. They did say, I believe, however, I'm not sure if it was them, but it's no longer truly on their own hands. They need some help from the group to make it out. So, well, that all starts, of course, with winning these this rematch against Vitality. Get full 3 points. Do everything you can that is within your own hands, and just maybe the other results do go your way in the end. It's going to be a rehost called by Hyper. We are probably going to head into that soon. I don't know. It's not up to me.
It's not up to you.
It's not up to us.
It's not up to me.
But we are heading into it anyway, so
things happen, and we get a moment to take a breath and talk about how we can lean into this on the technical pause. You can see Vitality have a conversation, and to be fair, you know, it's something that could work well in their favor here. They get to take everything that they suffered in the first round, which from DarkZero was blow by blow, a very well put together attack. They knew what they wanted the control of. They knew where they wanted to try and find the lockdown. It was the ideas and impression towards that dining room plant. I like the shift away from the table itself, where the default plant spot is, towards that planter in the corner. They had the cover from Canadian. It's all they had at that point, and they just got to otherwise stick it, and it came through. But when you are going for that sort of dash in that sort of time frame, and there's still pocket denial utility on the board, like smokes or C4s, you gotta go for those little peculiar plays and places that put you over the line. And that moment, that communication, that IGL call from the storage player was, for me, one of the reasons that really came through for them.
Just trying to figure out what the issue might have been, of course, with the rehost. I saw the admin turn off the monitor of one of the players, so I'm not sure if it's if it's related to that or if that's if just the backlights that they weren't really feeling happy with. I don't know. We'll get to see. We'll get to find out.
You would hope that the problem isn't that a monitor is just turned off and the player can't work out how to turn it back on. I mean, you would hope.
The admin turned it off, so
okay.
It's not... I don't think it was off, because then he would turn it back on.
Then you would hope that the admin would be able to turn it back on. But the only admin we spend a lot of time with is Coppit, and Coppit would make that mistake.
It's a cleanup from the monitor here.
They're getting it sorted.
Is that it? Are we going for a quick pit stop?
Oh, something...
Oh, it's going back on?
It's going back on. I like that cool light thing.
I like it too. It just slowly launches, and it's like a loading bar that, you know, slowly fills up. And then the flash, it is all ready to go. At least it seems like. The cleanup crew is leaving. The thumbs up are given. The ready's being called. The player wasn't even in back yet. Gotta be careful.
Happy you're not ready. Happy you're not ready.
Calm down. Hyper gives it now, however, and that does mean that all 10 players are ready. The technical pause shortly shall be resolved, I assume.
That's the danger of calling it ready like that. Our observers, it's like a Pavlovian response.
We're ready. It's like, ready? Okay, let's go.
They see the R, they press go. It's...
Yeah.
That's how accidents happen in, you know, esports. In an F1 pit stop, if you call ready, their driver's going to put his foot down, you know? Stefan is exactly like an F1 driver. Ante, it was actually exactly like an F1 driver.
I can give so many references right now. Like, my whole mind is full with F1
I know, and that's why
I'm not going to do it now. Otherwise, you know, I would have been... going back to a certain Dutch driver that drove a couple of years ago, Christian Albers. He was given the green light that he could go, but the fuel hose was still attached to the car, so he just drove up with the whole fuel hose and everything attached to it.
And that's what you've got to treat observers like. They're finely tuned machines that work on response. Okay, we're back in the game. We are poorly tuned machines that talk a lot of rubbish about video games. DarkZero, 1 round up. Vitality are going to run it back, double it down, and see if they can get a little bit more solidity on the play. My curiosity is piqued by Canadian on the role of the Nook. The attempt at the secrecy that might come round over the back stairs, there is always that option. But what you have to always keep in mind with Vitality is, especially the role of P4, he loves to be in places around the map, dug in on corners, going for routes and rotations and truly exploring the boards. But him in the role of the Warden makes me think he might be a little bit more static and stoic towards the chance of a smoke plant.
It's a weird thing, right, with P4. On some sides, he's the roamer that is either just creeping around the bottom floor, going for the perfect flank, but then on the other side, he's the anchor, the one that takes the very first gunfights, and with that, it really surprises, for example, their opposing team, and that basically leaves it up to a gamble. Is P4 flanking or is he anchoring? Which of the two will we get? As it does require some attention to put towards, because if he is on that bottom floor, you do not want to leave him alone. You need to hunt him down, because we've seen it so many times before that he just comes back up and suddenly strikes you from the back and your whole attack just falls apart.
Now, as they try and find their way in, this is potentially the signal and the start of something that might go a little bit quick. And we're going to see if we can match the pace that it seems like DarkZero want to apply. And the first applications of that is shining brightly towards Solarium and the windows that it offers. It is that bright light that breaks itself all the way down onto the back line of the site itself. Aruni gates burnt. And a cautious bit of silence is what quickly follows up. They have some angles they can play against, and Bieber is more than happy to lean into them, but you're wondering, what is DZ wanting right now as their info? Because whatever it is, Vitality aren't handing it to them.
Not quite yet, indeed. They're staying put, they're staying static, they're not moving around too much as Bibu takes a small amount of damage from a grenade, but nothing too big yet. Mewjummer does get deployed, but it's way too late to actually get rid of the X-Kairos. A second set of X-Kairos, however, will not be detonating due to the Mewjummer being in place, and neither does the drone. They probably thought, well, there's no Mewjummer, so let's get that drone on the way, and then suddenly it gets caught off, so they will have to pick it up. It's an interesting way to trick the drones, indeed. You could also just shoot them if they start coming through, but As DZ is starting to put up some of the pressure on that top floor. Vitality, they're trying to hold off with, well, not everything they have, because it's just 2 members upstairs.
A well put together structured taken approach here as the start of the break line as they try and batter back the bodies of Vitality on the top floor. Rise is holding on for now on piano, but he's about to hear some sweet chin music from NJR and Canadian, who are doubling up with the lead of Hyper. Potentially just going to burn this gate with that, and there it is, dropped by the spray instead with another body just playing off on towards the short wall of box. They're waiting to pop up like a very dangerous jack in the box as Shinka still has the verticality that is precious, but look at this. The space that has been cleared by DarkZero gives them great angles for a limited time.
Limited time in the EP4 picks up the very first with, of course, that Nitro cell that just blew up. Hyper, well aware of the amount of utility that is still left, just has a single ammunition left in that Gon 6. Grenades are still being tossed out by Canadian. They hope to attack the site soon, but they don't really have the control. That's a missed drone. No, there we have it. At least the ping comes through in the end, and that's the wallbang as well. Surely he was seen. Hyper gets one as well, and DarkZero, they turn it around.
Very quick double kill, but look at the timer, and it's a 2 versus 1 versus 3. The C4 long arm over the top connects with nobody, but they're going to try and stick it on the far side under the cover of the Screaming Lion. It is their lockdown for the plant here. A 3 versus 1, but they've crept to a slightly new location. There's the first. Bibu gives the game away to his position, and the pings are making sure that they know where each other is. A slight separation, and the second is his for his triple. One more, no! And Canadian is able to lock it down. They opened up with the positioning. They got into the right place at the right time, but the finale was all his.
You know what? You want to know how he locked it off there, Canadian? It was the red pings that were coming through, and what Canadian decided to do is Hell Presence sensor activated. The gadget of the Nuki do not show up anymore on the cams, so he had no clue whether he was deeper inside of the kitchen trying to dig himself in right behind the counter, or if it was Canadian, as you saw it on the right top, the ability slowly starting to tick down, who was unspotted by the camera, allowed to clutch it. So very smart play there from Canadian, realizing those cameras could have been the downfall of DarkZero in that round.
DarkZero, 2 rounds in a row, 2 very strong ones, and I guess that's the habit of Vitality. They make games spicy. Even if rounds are going away from them, they seem to bring an energy, and this time, DZ have been there to step up into it. You're seeing these clutch moments, you're seeing these great rotations, the double push. I love that we got that step-by-step breakdown of how DarkZero wanted to approach it. As I said, they were looking for something, and it was a Bibu who was playing that mute game. They pushed him into one other situation, and suddenly, other pieces started to fall together. It went away from them for a split second, but the groundwork that they'd done led into a great push.
It definitely did, and now Vitality 2 rounds behind. They've managed to beat DarkZero before. I'm not sure if the live rankings are currently working. I'm not sure if Vitality is just this secure that if they lose this game against DarkZero, that nothing really changes in the whole scoreboard system. Either way, Vitality, they want to get into that top 2, and losing to DarkZero now could be problematic in tiebreakers later on.
Well, stacking it to the top there as P4 is going to see if he can find a bit more presence for this game, which has otherwise been a bit of a drift from them at this moment in time. Bibu dug in early in the showdown that turned into a win, and he's dug in early a little bit here, but early doth not make a locked-in round, and DarkZero are still putting this pressure down pretty well. They've been able to find, as we saw, the 2 rounds in a row. Can they grow into something a little bit sharper here? Now, they're looking for this early presence, this early take, and P4 is going to be the potential mantle that battles back.
He's digging up a little bit closer towards that window, just like he likes to. He really wants to bring the aggression close to whoever tries to challenge him. Unfortunately, though, for him, at this very moment, no challenge really coming through. Rice just sitting there with that Nitro ripped and ready, able to throw it out, and there it comes, but Canadian too far down, the Nitro just too short, and the kill will not be landed. And with that, DarkZero avoid the first wall danger that really came their way. Bibu takes a little bit of damage from that window as well as the pressure now comes in from the Solarium side. The question is Vitality ready? P4 wants to go aggressive and does so, especially under this E1D, picks up a singular kill and rotates back into the bathroom.
I said I wanted to see a little bit more from P4 of what we're used to seeing, and there is a taste. getting aggro, leaning in, and putting the pressure back to DarkZero, a team that we've seen do these huge setups, take piece by piece the puzzle. Canadian is making sure that he's throwing the pieces off the board and saying, I want to play a different game. It's called I Shoot You in the Face. Eclipse now, taking a little bit of a scratch of damage as the pressure starts to come across Solarium. We're seeing the single body still on the double repel. We're seeing some of the pressure come through towards the bathroom. DarkZero wants that modicum of space. They want that comfort, and it's coming at a step-by-step basis, with the next being marred and covered by the E1D. The take underneath almost comes through for Hyper. It's scrappy, but it's his. As Shinka goes down in the dining room, set up and serve. Pamba is going to see if they can get the lockdown with the pings, but attention still needs to pay towards the site.
Definitely do. It's a 3-on-4 situation now. The next E1D pops off, and they have the opportunity to start entering now. ADSs will be wasted. Bieber will be fully flashed. Cactus is his lifeline now. The hop-in is there. Cactus, you need to respond now. They have the kill. Cactus gets the first, however, 2-on-3 before he's down. It's only up to Rise in a 1v3 clutch situation. We have seen so many yet during these group stages. The question here, however, is the challenge here, however, is Rise going to be able to stop them as he spots Canadian up on the rappel, but he now knows it's a post-plant situation. He can just hold back. All he needs to do is make sure that he does not cross that hallway.
Rise let in today with a good mood, but he's going to see if he can turn it into something better in a 3 versus 1 clutch. But Hyper, he's getting the consistency of a lady that isn't quite real, popping all the pings there. They're going to see if they can push via the bathroom. He's on the other side of a soft wall, but the audio will entirely be on the favor of Eclipse, who blacks out the sun, covers it off from Solarium's side, and says, 3 rounds, they're all ours.
3 rounds in a row here for DarkZero, definitely stepping up compared to their previous runs here. You know, the last 3 matches they have played into this major so far. Now the live rankings have been updated. Vitality will drop to 3rd place if this continues on like this. DarkZero still behind him, however, it will not really mean too much at this moment, but in the end, on the long run, it might actually, well, allow them to go for that 3rd place, or potentially even better. As a tactical pass, Team Vitality have called it. It's something, by the way, I mentioned when I was casting the first game with Blue. Bibu is the only member from Vitality who is still left from the old Paris Major that was being played under this organization. And he shows it every single round. Have you noticed how?
How?
He has a towel from the Paris Major, which he uses to warm up his hands after every round. So
that's cool. Now, a lot of passion from a French stack that is built around it, with that Belgian in the middle. We saw him leading passionately there, and obviously Loon behind to give them a good balance. If you are unfamiliar, there it is, there's the towel. If you are unfamiliar with Vitality, they have been wonderfully supported by the organization, as a lot of teams have been, and one of the only teams inside EUL that have consistently been generally in boot camps, in the build-up to a lot of situations. You'll see them as a stack, often with more support staff behind them. Obviously, unfortunately, couldn't be here due to regulations, but still, it is an environment they're used to. That passion, that shouting, that consistency, that's the thing that you love to see from teams, and you'll get great taste of it in NAL when they're on stage with each other. We get taste of it with Vitality when they're all together by themselves in a room facing a team spread out around Europe, and they are making sure to bring it to this tournament too.
Another team would be Virtus Pro, for example, a team that also always does get close, but not quite there, just like Vitality have been for the longest amount of times. Unfortunately, they always miss a singular player, the one that does not live in the team house. Karsheka. Always playing in the dark.
He's always, well, I guess it's always late where he's playing.
Yeah, true.
It's always, you'll see the 4 of them, and then it's Karsheka and just Karsheka in the Abyss because it's all dark around him, so you can play. It's funny.
It's like when the round ends as well, that's like when the one source of illumination is gone, because it's like that dark screen before it comes back to light, so he's like completely gone after that.
Anyway, attack timeout, a conversation, because, okay, you're still expecting some of these rounds to go away from you, but we have to look back at how these 2 teams faced previously, and it was the Vitality show. DarkZero barely showed. Here, their pace, their control, and that just lockdown of these holds and these angles is so well put together. It's night and day. It is an entirely different team that suddenly found this energy, this humph, this chutzpah that they are making sure Vitality feels the opposite end of. Can Vitality pull some of these rounds into their favor before it just slips away?
Canadian up on a repel on a off angle right here, managed to do a little bit of damage onto P4 before he drops. At least they now know that that more close angle that was on that library is no longer being contested. Gives them an extra opportunity to start working towards Rise, towards Bibu, who are of course playing around it. One on the fireplace chimney, the other one of course on the library stairs, which is a default position normally. Even though today and yesterday we have seen that not always a shield will be deployed in that position.
Rise kicks the side of the load as DarkZero play this steady open game where they try and find the bits of intel that they want to push on the pressure on. There's the first. Rise taken out of the situation, Eclipse at the lockdown, and you can see Canadian on the far side droning it out and forcing the player. Bibu is now in a bit of a tough spot. This suddenly becomes a much higher pressure engagement as soon as you lose that rotation and that swing player from behind the pillar. Sure, you have a shield and some ADSs, but those get burnt, hopped out and pressured down and pushed back. P4's next off as Eclipse hops over and takes his second for the round. Caught by an ADS, too eager to try and find the fight and the follow-up, but Bibu is long gone. They have that verticality and they have a lot of time left.
The side starts opening up the ceiling from above them now. It's NGR hoping to find an angle, or at least hoping to dislocate these players from Vitality. Eclipse knowing exactly what he needs to do. There is going to be that one evil eye that is currently problematic and the player inside of Pantry that they need to remove. A grenade will be used to get rid of the evil eye. That's at least one part of the problem gone. They just need to get a cactus to get the full equation out of the way. And after that, a potential plant could be, well, on the rise here. Shinka, Bibu, both offside, both playing around stairs, could be going up or could be going down, depending on what they want. Cactus gets a little bit more of his save grab removed from him by the Excaros that just detonated.
Shinka's able to at least find Canadian back and takes a blowout before the E1D stops a bit of silence. They're trying to open up the close quarters and go for the engagements. They know Shinka was playing around this stair set and the grenades bounce back and they're dropped, not as a long follow-up. There's a swing round from an Al that you expect in just a moment as they're going to see if they can stick it. There it is! One apiece as Bibu strikes two. Suddenly it's just Cactus on a back line. A single body in a handful of seconds is what Hyper's going to throw, but he makes sure it lands.
There you go, Cactus almost managed to make the clutch happen on 1v3 it was. He gets the diffuser, but the timing this time did not go in his favor. There was going to be that extra little bit of time left. Those 5 seconds were just enough to lock out the round in the end, and as we see the first kill coming through, and Cactus, of course, with his valiant attempt of going for the clutch, it was unfortunately not going his way. The diffuser dropped, the timer not low enough. That means that for, current score DarkZero, they're looking to beat up Vitality here, looking to give them, well, a taste of their own medicine, really, compared to the first matchup. Every time I use that, by the way, a taste of their own medicine, I think of the Dutch one first and translate it into English, which is a cookie of your own dough.
What?
Yeah, a cookie van eigen deeg, which translates to a cookie of your own dough.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, that's not correct. It sounds fun. It sounds very tasty.
Cookie of your own dough.
Right, so
Taste of your own medicine. Yeah, that's good. I want a cookie, unless you're really... Well, I'm really bad at baking, so I suppose I would want a cookie.
I would use your dough to bake a cookie and then give it back to you, so it's like...
Oh, okay. I thought you meant, like, I would use my dough to bake a cookie and give it to me, and it's like, that's just baking. Like, that's
yeah,
not,
that would just be baking.
that's not a saying, the Netherlands. That's just baking.
No, that's not how it goes. Like a taste of your own medicine would be like, you grab your medicine.
I am
like,
curious.
Have a taste.
Yeah,
you know?
if this well-known phrase is in other people's linguistics in its
I want to know as well. Tweet it out. It was great. I want to see all the different variations to it. See if I can work them into it one day. And everybody will be like, what? What do you mean? Cookie your own dough or any of those? Well, similar kind of things as DarkZero looking to build in. They need to take control yet once more, but their attack already has been quite strong. 4 rounds they have managed to get so far. Of course, they want more. They want to lock this up for the 6-0. Especially after, of course, they managed to pick up a round against Vitality. If they want to turn that head-to-head around, they need to improve the record that Vitality put down upon DarkZero.
Bamba's going for the long angles here to see if he can cut across what is the core of this map. It's 2 separate buildings with a very narrow connection in a lot of people's books, and a very big room with a lovely fireplace that causes a bit of devastation, and this is one of those buildings falling into the favor. NJR is looking for that cross angle, that crutch, that crook of the L to make sure they don't walk away with another one, as the Gemini is going to beat the lead in around the corner. They're aware of the shield on the piano, and the double stack on the swing of Cactus might cause some danger, but you assume that soon somebody's going to make a hop out onto those windows to apply some direct pressure.
Flashbang's going through here, hoping to put up some pressure into the box as Hyper is nading and angling that grenade the right way, but I'm not quite sure where it went. Oh, that one inside the box just to get rid of a Mew Gemmer so they could go for the breach, and that's exactly what's happening now. They're preparing for the half fall. Next step is Bibu in this current position. We've seen how dangerous he can be, how effective he can be to stop anybody from planting on that half fall. You want to get rid of him, you want to get rid of the player that is close to the bathroom as well, or you just need to be running through and hope for the best. It's either of them. And also, there's a step in between. You have smokes with Canadian, of course. The micro smokes and the bolts that they have in the crossbow could be used to block the line of sight. However, you could still try and go for pre-fire and get lucky.
Well, the pings are there, and Bibu's there too, and he's refusing to move. Sure, the Lion has been consistent, and he expects it. He's sort of baiting and playing. We've seen him go bold in this position before. There's a burn, there's a grenade. He knows when he needs to move, and it's right then and there. It doesn't drop the shield, though. He can try and retake it as the next one pops. The canister was very well placed there. Stop them with that approach. Rise gets one. The second falls to Cactus. The swing and the drop round. I said they needed a presence on the window, and suddenly they needed a presence pretty much everywhere, as what they had is drop down. The spray towards the balcony puts a bit of damage down, but it's nothing else compared to the time that is otherwise being wasted by the canisters. Bibu refuses to let this piano go and tries to make it as immovable as they often are. Another E1D pops out. They don't have the diffuser though, so they're going to have to just try and do some damage. The first fight falls away from them, as does the second.
I'm not quite sure what those shields were made of. Before grenades landed in like close proximity, but you know, just not enough shrapnel really going the right way due to it just landing under the piano or just landing inside of the bookcase, you know, making sure that those shields would stand. But oh, those small mistakes really made it so DarkZero wasn't quite able to push comfortably, because that shield is always going to be a help to that defender that can just look through those little signs lines of sight. Sight's a line. No, that's a whole different thing. Either way, kitchen dining coming up. One more defensive round here for Vitality. DarkZero, are you going to be able to close it off? Are you going to be able to close this into a 5-1 like we have seen so many times before? Almost every single game, I believe, we've casted went to a 1-5 or a 5-1 at some point.
Attackers need to
So it would be quite fitting to finish the day with that, at least. Vitality will be going to the kitchen and the dining. We have seen that side before. It almost ended up in a clutch. Bibu was, I believe, the one with an SMG-11, picked up 2 kills, but then Canadian, of course, with the Hell presence sensor, managed to dodge the camera that was inside the kitchen, and with that, of course, sneak out, get that final kill. No nuke this time on the side of the Z-Do, and that means that we will not get that repeated at least.
10 seconds left.
Vitality have got 1. And to be fair, that's as well as they did on the defense earlier today when they won their game versus Team 1. They are on a par for a course, but still, they probably expected a very different route to the destination here against DarkZero, who, to be fair, have stepped up so well this game. They've been able to do a lot of damage, and we expect good play on this map from NA teams. We've expected good play from DarkZero this whole tournament, and this, in a lot of people's books, is the first time we're starting to see some of the hints and ideas of why they are here battling amongst the best teams in the worldwide scene of Siege. Now, as the Flores goes for an approach, they have opted for a lot of different operator plays. We've seen Canadian juggle 3 or 4 just to himself as he tries to find new ways to break and put the pressure on Vitality, a team that loves to try and double down on holds and takes.
5 on 5 still. Not a minute has passed yet, just barely. Or almost, rather. It's Vitality that just try and stall for as long as they possibly can, as DC is putting up the pressure. You know that the top 4 needs to be under control first. That way they can start to dislocate these players, and that's why the RCs are being used to get rid of those pieces of utility that feed the information towards the side of Vitality. Meantime, Grenade will be used though to get rid of the mute jammers. That allows them to open up directly into the dining hall, and that will be done so by Eclipse right away. Springs are being used as Cactus wants to get into a position. I believe that is an impact grenade. He could try and use Ghost for it, and successfully as well. That means a second exothermic needs to be used by Eclipse. And well, Cactus, he has another impact as well, so surely they're not going to be doing that one blindly.
Well, they're going to have to open up top instead. They made the decision, and they think the box hold is more important. And to be fair, that verticality will become it. There is a bit of a fight here. Scrappy, but Rise escapes. He's about to suffer another bullet, though, as that EU1D is going to mean that he has to stand very still right by Hyper on the other side of a window. Hyper couldn't get the clean shot. P4 did, but there's the revenge. There's great spray over the top, and another for a double of Hyper, who's making sure everything is squeaky clean in this bathroom, with NJR offering some assistance over the top, but nobody connects with the C4 that dropped a little bit too short for them to get a full read. However, you've now got to look at the land that falls to them. It's a 4 versus 2, but what they have is the upstairs verticality. They still need to try and drive through the remaining 2 players. Cactus, who's used to this sort of situation as a backline, and then P4, who's just has his toesies spotted.
And that means that he might be under pressure soon. Flashbangs are coming in, a vertical angle is created, and that's just a clean pickup there from NGR. Eclipse gets the final kill. Cactus drops, and it's a 5-1 half here for DarkZero. Really bringing it back here in their return match against Vitality. They lost as the very first matchup of the Major on the Bravo stream that was, and now they're looking to return that favor. They want to be the ones that climb out of these group stages into the playoffs. With this round, or with this game, if they win it, they do not quite achieve that yet, but it's a good step towards potentially being there in the end. Because I said it before, it's not just up to them anymore. They need the group, their results to go their way. It's not within their own hands. What they can do, however, is win their 3 remaining matches. Get those 9 points, and potentially things will go your way. Winecellar Snowmobile will be coming up, and Tachenka will see his debut.
Something that has always piqued my curiosity, and obviously, wow, day 2, this moment in the time, you don't know that there's a Rainbow Six Bravo stream? Oh, girl, come on, there is. There's a Rainbow Six Bravo stream on the other stream where the other 2 teams from this group are currently butting heads. A couple of names that you might be familiar with, Parker and Pengu.
I thought you were going to go for the nicknames.
Parky as Pengu's opted to nickname him, casting that game, and the fact that what we're seeing from this group is Vitality, before these 4 teams started playing, were first in their group. If they lose this, they drop to 3rd and DarkZero don't move. That is how hot the first 2 spots are, that you can go from 1st to 3rd within this sort of break. And that also highlights what DarkZero have to do is a lot. And they've had a great lead in here, but can they break what Team 1 could not and just find the final 2 connections as a 5-1 needing into their attack was what Vitality turned into a win earlier today.
At least it means that the group is still quite close together if Vitality would be dropping 2 of these places. Just a singular game. Anyway, Vitality on the attack now. It's a bit of a change up to the meta, or up to the speed that they've had over the past couple of rounds, of course. From the defense up to the attack, they now set the pace. They are the ones now that decide how quickly these rounds go. Mind you, Vitality, Rogue, and we've also seen Demon Kia have been using a lot of quick rounds here and there, just calling them in and going for a rush. We're not seeing that quite yet, but they have been super effective. The question I have right now, though, is if you're 1 to 5, are you going to be risking it right now? Are you going to be playing and starting in slow, or are you going to be trying to do it in the next 2 rounds? Go for a quick one, catch them off guard. Were they aware that it might not work against DarkZero?
P4 is spraying towards the ping, but that is what Pambazoo do. In the role of that Vigil is make those what would be bangs and takes through the walls somewhat tougher. Hey, what did we see from this on Vitality earlier today? Drones. Fantastic drones, an intel game that absolutely turned Team 1 into a tough spot. And what DarkZero have responded with is a fantastic denial game. The operators that they've brought are entirely just to play against what Vitality did so well earlier today. They find themselves guessing, and that is finding themselves rough as it's getting a bit scrappy on the stairs.
That timing, that was insane. The grenade was about to be tossed out and the shotgun swings up from Eclipse. That grenade will blow up, but won't be able to do too much damage to Eclipses. In the meantime, Pamba does take care of Bibu. P4 now knows there is players on that top floor. You might need to worry about those very soon, as Cactus, however, is in front of the door. In front of the door of the site, and is thinking, you know, maybe we could sneak in for a plant if the cover is there. The question is, however, rather the challenge is, if Shinka tries to put up that cover, he will be shot from above as the kills are starting to flood in yet once more from DarkZero. Canadian with a double does not get his triple, however, as it's only up to Shinka now in a 1v4, and he's actively being pushed by either the Shamikas, but also the Mozzie to get that final kill. It's match point here for DarkZero. Not just one, not just two, but 5 in total.
That's a lot of opportunity.
It's a lot of opportunities. However, we've seen that one quite a lot before here today as well. And, you know, somehow some of those turned around to OT.
The difference, and what I want to highlight here, is the operator selection from DarkZero. Okay, sure. Those aren't the most out there lineups in terms of control. It's not the most sort of pushed against play. But the way that they were utilizing their utility is a breakaway from what was Vitality's fantastic intel game earlier today. Oh, it's good. It's great. It knocks it out the park. It's what you wanted from a team against Vitality. It's what we've wanted from DarkZero, a team that is from a region that is highlighted as having great strats at the minute, great stats at the minute, and great ways to look at problems that they can both solve and create, which they have done for Vitality this game and have done for arguably the first time in Sweden.
The solving part was quite troublesome the first time around, and of course the first 3 matches around. Every single time we went to a new side, they were like, okay, this is the moment where Canadian can rally in the troops and he can tell them, all right, we've seen this before, this is how we deal with it.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Fortunately, did not really come to fruition then. Not as much as it comes to fruition now. DarkZero, 1-6. They have played against Vitality before. It seems like they're aware of the weak points and how to counter it. You know, it is, to some extent, simple. Cut down their mobility, cut down their rotations, wait for them to peek you, because they do that quite often, especially here on the attack. Make sure you shut down those star players of, for example, P4 and Bibu.
Okay, talking of Bibu, a player who's been able to lead them into some good situations. I said he was the first to sort of hit the boards, but since then, it's been unfortunately a bit quiet, not quite able to lock in with the energy and security that they flooded with previously today. Now, they've got to try and piece together the hold and lead behind it as Rise on the Ash that did cause some devastation when he wasn't quite able to connect and found himself with some feet on their second half. There is a player that's about to swing up and find a fight. Eclipse gets dropped though. P4 was able to win the fight. Rise was there to at least try and pick up the trade. It was a bit sketchy and they went for a bold play, but to be fair, DZ is on 6-1. Sketchy is something that might work. What's this Aruni can do? Well, take down that barricade in one fell swoop and allow that player on the pillar to go for a swing that Cactus might not expect.
That's it, they can both go for a swing at the very same time. Hyper just for now holding off, waiting for that window to be opened up. And if Cactus does that, he will be giving away that position. Just heard one of those punches actually, but does not know it is quite close to the window itself. Vitality in the man advantage no longer. Hyper picks up the very first kill, now needs to fall back, as that was all the way through the punch hole he just made. That wasn't spotted out by Cactus.
Fantastic lockdown and positioning there from Hyper. As I said, it's this aggression that DarkZero said, well, why not? What if we got to lose? We have everything to win right now. It just takes a little bit more of a connection as the timer ticks ever closer to them finally finding 3 points and somehow improving on the head-to-head that was otherwise very terrifying in the lead-in. The pings are coming through now. They have an idea on where the players on the top floor are, but there's still a huge amount of utility. It's going to have to be a very aggressive drive to clear past it.
It is definitely in Hyper with a very passive angle right here. Here's the grenade pin being pulled. Is being tossed in from below, but the flank is already coming on its way. P4 taking a small bit of damage there. Unfortunately, will stay alive. Pambazu will go down, but a vertical start coming in. Is NGR and Hyper to pick up the kills as Cactus and Shinka left. A 2-on-3, a 1-on-3 situation now. As Cactus, the one, the man, the anchor, the art support needs to fix it. Gets one, but needs to find 2 more.
Canadian with a shotgun finishes the man, and Cactus, as he said, the frequent hard support, the player that is off in a backline, and the last chance they have to keep themselves in this fight. He's going to draw some attention to one side. The verticality is 2 stories of trouble, and the first finds him. DarkZero find their first win, their first full points, their first showing in Sweden. Hello, guys. It took the second half for groups, but you made a heck of a statement to say, oh yeah, we're here.
Saw a quick cheer there, but they know there's a lot of work still to do if they want to be making it out of the groups here. It's not looking very likely. I'm not quite sure what the exact details are. Would have to dive into those a little bit deeper, but at least they got this win under their belts, and they will be happy with it, because it is a statement as well that if you lose from Vitality heavily, you can bring it back as well. They're all coming back together here for a quick huddle, because there is still another day at least to play for here. And how will they perform there?
Well, they needed the win. There's no 2 ways about it from the emotional standpoint and the statistical standpoint. They needed a win and they took it well, and that's a great thing. It's like taking that round the moment before the turn of the half, and then you come back with the entire sweep. It's that energy, that momentum, and that hope for them to find themselves fighting for a top 2 spot and a position potentially in the playoffs.
Now, I have to quickly mention BK, ties fixed, right? I had the talent manager, first of all, trying to fix it. I had Milos that tried to fix it first, but that was the tie you've seen. And eventually it was Parker that had to do it for me. So thank you, Parker. I appreciate it. You know what? Before we head back to the analyst desk who tried to fix my tie before but failed, let's go to a quick break.
What does it take to create the future of a gaming community? Join us on this 4th episode of I Call Next as we discover how to level up gameplay and reset the expectations of an entire league. PayPal, press play.
Easy going right there. One more to go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst Desk, and looks like North America is alive. DarkZero woken up, Jess. They actually did it.
I am gobsmacked.
They smacked Vitality, I can tell you that.
I mean, look, I do want to put a little bit of a cushion to this kind of blow that DarkZero delivered to Vitality. The bees were not in the beehive at any way, shape or form, but I do want to say very quickly, Chalet on the attack. This is something we've been seeing as a trend, so we need to be careful about how we speak about these teams, which sides of the maps that they are starting on, because for DarkZero, I think they got dealt a very good hand here on Chalet today against Vitality. And I did say to Pengu before we jumped on, he was speaking about it, he goes, this might be a fast match. And I said, actually, out of all the teams that might throw a match against DarkZero, I think it might be Vitality, unfortunately.
1 W, 1 L per day, right? You get a total of 6 points. 3 points now for DarkZero. You'll see some replays, some moments where you're thinking also, like, just hold down mouse 1. You're a maestro with 40 rounds in your magazine.
Oh, I screamed
Please,
in the green room.
you got it. It's not that hard, you know, it's good to go, but still, it got
too close for comfort.
It really did.
I do want to point out, as these replays come across everyone's screen, is that playing the defensive side on Chalet is extraordinarily difficult.
Yes.
This is something that even the best teams in the world, I'm going to highlight maybe BDS, that's a team that we're experts on, and turn around and say that even they would struggle on their defensive side on this map. So it is very heavily attacking leaning, and as a result, DZ got off to a very good start. You put yourself on match point before you know it, and Vitality, which happens to have quite emotional, not overly emotional players, but they do speak about the fact that mental is part of, some of their training and their readiness, and they weren't ready to be staring down 5 rounds in a row that they would have needed to have picked up.
And again, like you said, it is quite normal to have 5-1 at the half on Chalet for the attackers. It's nothing unusual. So even when it's 5-1, we're like, well, does it really tell you the whole story? No. But to be able to clear it out on your defense after it seemed like that first half had a big impact on Vitality's mental.
Yep.
We could see it in the players' reaction during their pauses, in between rounds. And kudos to DarkZero is exactly what I want to get to now, because they played out of their minds. This is what we expect from a top-tier NAL team. This is what we expect in general from the top teams here. Closer games, better performance. Hyper 13-3. The man has been a machine since the first day he stepped into competitive play in North America, and that's almost 3 years ago now.
Jeez.
The man has been a machine, and DarkZero owe a lot to resetting their mental after earlier today and yesterday. Those 3 matches really have a big impact, and I'm sure having coached Penta in your past, you know all about resetting mental after bad games.
Yeah, I've worked with hyper emotional players before and going through some losses, that's for sure, but also going through some great wins. And DarkZero is a team that is used to, especially in the NAL, getting those narrow wins, which always feel awesome. You're like, wow, we capitalized. We were almost going to lose, but we did it. We pulled it together, gang. It can be very difficult to work around and with players who don't deal well with pressure and don't deal well with looking down the barrel of a loss. So I'm glad DZ were able to just put it out of their minds for this one and be able to capitalize on the win, because it does give us the storyline for tomorrow. Let's not forget that they themselves might, if the cards fall all correctly, be able to do something in this group.
Game 1 tomorrow for this group is going to be incredibly important, and here's why. The standings will rock up on your screen in just a moment. We'll see, because with this victory, DarkZero are able to secure 3 points. Team 1 victorious against Sandbox. It pretty much puts them ahead of everybody else by a country mile. They can collect a total of 6 more points tomorrow, because there's 2 games, 3 points per match, yada yada. So they could move up. If they win 1 game, they're pretty much set to go, because nobody else can catch up to them. There's 2 teams at 6 points. It's the only way to have, 3 points and then tie up with your opponent. I mean, they've had a 3-way tie before, right?
Yep.
So it's possible that you're going to need a tiebreak in some way, shape, or form. But if that doesn't happen, and that cannot happen, if Team 1 just wins their first match, gets the 3 points, pretty much, and they are good to go. The fight now is really between Sandbox, Vitality, and DarkZero to see who can make it beyond, because realistically, how we've seen everything transpire so far is any one of them can make it through. It's scary to see.
Something that I probably need to highlight, and I keep doing it, and it's almost like a little bit of APAC pride that I've had. Obviously, Chiefs, coming in and being able to perform at this event, finally being able to leave Australia. I was like, okay, a bit of Aussie pride on that one, I'll slap it on. But there's a lot of pride there for our region of APAC North and what they've been able to do, especially Sandbox Gaming. Would you have thought they would be sticking in 2nd place in their group out of this? I don't think a lot of people did. So I have a lot of pride, and I know you do as well.
They're playing better than they did in Invitational, that's for sure. This is much closer than we've had. This is not the same mistakes we had. Fixed it up, and they're playing against Vitality, against Team 1, against DarkZero. Not an easy group to be in, so not too bad. Gotta say, we'll see who can get out of the group stage. But before we move on to our kind of finale of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we have a thank you to say to our sponsors here in the league,
Oh.
AimLab, who allow a lot of players in the world, I think 20 million in total, use the application among
Sheesh,
so
okay.
many different spaces to train their aim in Rainbow Six and get it all together so they can actually go into the game warmed up and ready.
It is
To get
so
that elo.
good. It is so good. I have played some of Sua's playlists, for example. Sua's
Yes.
the ex, He
now works for AimLab,
and he now
officially.
works for AimLab. And he's built some simulation throughout the software that allows me to practice head height, for example,
Yep.
window shots, speed of shots, blue ball shots to be able to get the blue balls around. Oh, I know this is going to be clipped out of context. Don't do this to me, Milosh.
You know,
This man is a walking meme machine. He's like, anything you say, I can turn into a meme, and he's done it.
my life is a meme, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so sorry, Aim Labs. I was attempting to explain your brilliant software that I myself use.
I just looked into the camera. I don't know what you're talking about, Jess.
It's great, long story short.
Thank you, AimLab. Thank you so much for sponsoring our league here in Rainbow Six. And yeah, those specific positions, take a look at them in the video. Go ahead.